wouldn't surprise me to learn that all of this abuse, criticism, freezing and the age 13 thing and all of that contribute to a cause. It needs to be unraveled. That's my view, anyway. Yep. That's my view. Something else I remember, well, if you recall my book on the unseen therapist, I had a section in there about doctors and them not really knowing what causes much of anything. Do you recall that? All right. I didn't mention spasmodic dysphonia in there, but I remember looking it up once upon a time on WebMD. And if I recall it right, yet again, here it said, doctors don't really know what's causing spasmodic dysphonia. And then they'll give a few things that might contribute to it or something, but they don't know. Okay. Okay. Now let me go a step further. Here's one thing they do know, and it's very well known in all of medicine. Every doctor will agree with this. I've yet to find one that doesn't. And that's this. When you or I are carrying around negative thoughts, anger, grief, guilt, that kind of thing, okay, worry, doubt, our system sets off a cascade of negative chemistry. That's my simplified term, okay? Your adrenaline goes out of balance. Your cortisol goes out of balance. Hundreds of chemical reactions in your body that are there to repair things and all that get impaired. I mean, it's a cascade of bad stuff, okay? And so your immune system has to go deal with it. If it didn't, you'd be in trouble, okay? Well, there's only so much of that immune system. And if you've been criticized and all this stuff, and you have subconsciously these negative things going on, your immune system's not taking care of it, and it's bound to have physical symptoms. Right. Like the voice thing. Okay. Yep. Right. Every doctor knows that. Every doctor knows that. They just don't know what to do about it. But that to me is the cause, that kind of thing is the cause of every ailment that we have. That's my view anyway. And I've seen this over and over and over again. Anyway. So we're going to spend a little time with unseen therapists. How's your energy? Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, you get to sit back and relax because I'm going to do all the work here. Okay. I'm going to narrate everything. You just follow along. And if at any time you need to interrupt me for anything, is Nick sitting right there? I can't see him.
I am, yes.
Okay.
I am.
She's going to reach over and hit you or something like that.
Okay.
And she's going to say something, and it's okay. We can interrupt it. It's okay.
Okay.
Because if there's some feedback, I just need to know what it is. All right.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So if you would, Sally, close your eyes for me. All right. And take a nice, deep, relaxing breath. Good. And now just recall some loving moment in your life, a simple little loving moment, and just nod your head whenever you're there. All right, good. And with your eyes still closed, Sally, let me digress just for a moment, because this recalling a loving moment is sometimes misunderstood by newcomers. So let me just talk about it for a moment so we don't have that misunderstanding here. Some newcomers think, recall a loving moment. Well, we're going to be calling on God, the unseen therapist, the spiritual dimension. I better do this right or I'm going to fail, So they tend to think they need to have a Hollywood moment. They need to bring in angels and harps and warm feelings and trumpets and drums and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. No. You need to lighten up about that if you carry that thought around. All you're really doing with the recalling a loving moment is you are doing your best to align yourself with the pure love of the unseen therapist. She represents a love, God's love, Holy Spirit's love. She represents a form of love that is beyond the grasp of you and I. So we're just doing our best. You can imagine simply a dog licking you in the face. Oh, nice, loving moment. Okay. That's all it takes. That's all it is. Unseen therapist is always there, always guiding. The problem is we're not always listening.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we rarely listen. But by recalling a loving moment, we're just telling unseen therapists, hey, we're going to give you a little something now to work with. And we're listening. That's all. Okay. So nothing more than that. So in your mind's eye, we're going to spend a little time because we want to do a few things here. So if you would go back in time, go back to the womb, as a matter of fact. Even though you don't have much in the way of memory there, just imagine yourself, you're in the womb and you're feeling this tightness. Something is tight, something is constricting, it's tight. Something's wrong here. This is an insecure feeling, it's a fearful feeling, it's a bad feeling. And so that's you not knowing how to make sense of any of this. And so now we're going to represent that feeling because that perception shows up the rest of your life. It's foundational. So we're going to go to unseen therapists. We're going to say, look, unseen therapist, my mother is really not ready to have me. She may not want me. She is in over her head, got pregnant too early. She wasn't given a lot of love by her parents. She doesn't even know how to love. Through no fault of my own, that is of Sally's own, I may be an imposition to her, an irritation to her. That's got nothing to do with me, Sally. But I can see how mother would find that irritating, wanting to get on with her own life and maybe sorry for what could have been a pleasant experience or erotic experience as I was conceived, but I didn't get to play in that party either. I was just a result of it. Okay. So we're not excusing mother's behavior. We're just telling unseen therapists, we're recognizing this. And so I, Sally, am feeling tight in here. Something is wrong. And unseen therapists, because we're now open to her, says, look, understandable. Sally, your mother has her own problems. Yes, no question about that. She has them, she has them, she has them. Been having them for years, been having them long since you were ever conceived. So let's represent all these emotional things going on that you're picking up from mother and are foundational to you and that are not peaceful. Let's represent them as that tightness that you feel in your body. Tight, 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 tight. Okay. And then in your imagination, let's let unseen therapist send a loving, cooling, healing breeze towards you in the womb. And here it comes, and it starts to surround you. It gets inside your body where all the tightness may be. And the tightness itself kind of takes a deep breath. Because the tightness doesn't have to really be there. The tightness is simply your response to something you don't understand and can't as a fetus embryo inside of somebody else's body. Let me take another breath. Let me let unseen therapist send another cooling breeze towards us. But this cooling breeze is a little different than the first one. This one has some little fingers in it that can go into where the tightness is and untie the knots. Very gently, very cleverly, very quietly. Untie some knots, untie some knots, untie some knots. Spend a few moments on your own Sally, with the unseen therapist, this breeze and these little fingers, untying knots. Do the best you can. Maybe they'll get untied, maybe not, but just go as far as you can go. And whenever you've gone as far as you can go, just say, okay, and we'll go on. Okay, all right. Keep the eyes closed. We'll just keep going. We'll just keep going. And you might want to recognize that if you didn't get complete freedom in untying the knots, you can replay this recording. Another round, a little more freedom, etc. But those untying those knots represents freedom from something you didn't even create. Okay? It's a protective mechanism. That's all you know how to do at that oh so young age. So you created the knots as some kind of a protection, some kind of a barrier against something that you need no barrier against. So time goes on. We will fast forward a bit. You're out of the birth canal. And even starting at very early ages, at ages you cannot remember, with detail anyway, mother is critical. Maybe she doesn't change your diapers very often. Maybe she yells at you and pushes you around because you're crying. Maybe she doesn't feed you when she should. Maybe a lot of things. We don't know. We don't know. But we do know there's a high likelihood that your response to all these things needs addressing. Because it isn't what your mother did or didn't do. It's your response to these things that needs correcting, and we can correct it. So at this point in this age span of 0 to several years old, 5, 6, 7, 8, or something like that, there are many, 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 many such criticisms. Maybe you got hit, slapped, criticized, and so on. We're going to represent all of those, to unseen therapists. Now, just as a reminder, when you learn this course, we want to break these down into specific events. But right now, we're going to try to grab them all together. You may have to do them one at a time later, okay? We're trying to knock the center out of some of this, okay? So let's just lump all those together, all those criticisms and abuses together, understanding that none of these things are your fault. Sure, you're acting like a kid and you're getting into trouble, whatever kids do. We all do it. I did it. Nick certainly did it. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. So whatever you did, you're just being a kid. We're not going to blame you for any of that. Okay? You're just being a kid. But mother's response to all that, and your response to mother is what we're going to deal with. It's your response, not the actual facts of the case. So we're going to represent your response to all that. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's rage, maybe it's fear, resentment. What am I hearing?
Yes. Anger and fear.
Anger and fear. Okay. So all this anger, justifiably, of course, you're just a little bitty person. Here's this great big person and a source of love and an authority in your life. Criticizing you, not loving you. What's all this about? Something's wrong with me. I'm not lovable. How else could you conclude anything else? Okay. Unseen therapist knows this. She knows you are as lovable as anybody on this planet. She loves you. Can you hear her actually? Can you hear her say, I love you?
Yes.
I can't feel warm
I get very warm sensations.
Good. All right, because she's going to say that often to you from this point forward, just to reinforce, I love you. It doesn't matter. Your mother may not know how to love you. We're going to love your mother anyway. We're not going to excuse the behavior. And close your eyes if you would, Sally.
Okay.
We're going to make an effort at loving your mother. Your mother needs love, quite obviously. Really need, just like you do, like I do, like Nick does, like everybody does. So Unseen Therapist again says, I love you. Do you hear me? I love you. Your mother may not know how, but I do. I always have. I always will. There is no change here. All I am is love. That's all you are. You just think you're running around inside of a separated body. It's a big illusion. But we'll take you where you are. We'll take you where you are. Okay. You need to move from that perception to maybe a grander one. And I love you. I absolutely love you. I admire you for what you're doing here. This can't be altogether pleasant. Okay. But I admire you. I love you. And so we're going to represent all this anger and these fears as an unwanted vibration around your heart. Like you don't have to actually create a vibration around your heart. Just imagine it. It's a metaphor, ta-ta, 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 like that. Okay. Unseen Therapist recognizes all this. I love you. I love you. And she sends another cool breeze, but this one's got I love you floating all the way through it. It enters your system. It sees this unwanted vibration around your heart, representing all this fear and anger, and knows it need not be. This is decades ago. You don't have to keep this around now. What good does that do? Okay. And so as the breeze comes in and the I love yous come in, the vibration goes ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. And all you're left with is I love you. But now we're going to do it again. Here's all this anger, all this fear about what somebody else is doing that you have nothing to do with. It's your mother's unrest that you don't know how to handle, but you are with the Unseen Therapist. So fear and anger, ta-ta, 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 the breeze, the I love you, ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. Now, let's fast forward. And let's go to age 13 or thereabouts, junior high school. And somebody else is reciting some kind of a romantic poetry. Apparently doing a good job in the classroom. The teacher turns to you and you suddenly freeze. You are replaying all the criticisms from all those years that your mother gave you. I'm on the spot. I can't do it as well as that other person did. I am replaying criticism after criticism after criticism from my mother. I'm replaying the slaps, the hits. I'm replaying all of that. There's a penalty if I screw this up. And I freeze. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Except Unseen Therapist says, yeah, but I love you. I understand you're free. And you weren't listening to me then, Sally. But you can listen to me now. I was there then, but you weren't listening. You were listening to all the stuff that you were replaying from all the abuses you had had as a child up until that point, all the lacks of love and everything else. You never heard me. Not criticizing. Hardly anybody hears me. They're too busy with their own ego stuff and trying to get through this imaginary world. But there you are, frozen with fear. Fear's the right word here?
Yes.
Frozen with fear. Frozen like with ice around you. You can't move your fingers. You can't move your elbows. You can't move anything. You're just frozen with fear. You can't even move. And well, I guess you could run out of the room. Did you run out of the room? I forgot.
No.
Okay.
No.
She couldn't move. She froze.
Okay. Here comes unseen therapist, recognizing you're sitting there in your own self-imposed block of ice. Nobody put that around you except you. It is your response to all that went before this one crescendo moment. All that replay, all those penalties for doing something wrong, all those I'm not good enough, that I'm not lovables are all coming up, and the spotlight is on you, and you better do it right. Frozen. Here comes unseen therapist. But this time it isn't a cool breeze. It's a warm breeze with I love you all over it. And it circulates around the ice. And the ice, of course, cannot stay frozen. With all this nice, we're even going to call it a tropical Hawaiian breeze. All right. And there you are inside the block of ice. And the ice starts to melt. And one of the things that as the ice melts, you can start to hear with your ears, I love you. Ah, I love you. I'm right here. I'm right here. I've always been here. I love you. And the ice melts, and the ice melts. And you can move your fingers and your toes and your knees and your elbows, your shoulders. The ice melts. It's no longer even cold. It's sort of like a nice, warm jacuzzi bath where everything flows easily and nicely and all the joints move beautifully. And in your imagination, if you would like to, it's kind of an option for you, okay? Imagine yourself sitting in this special, very special for you, hot tub. And all the rest of the kids in the class are looking at you going, oh, look at that, she gets to be in a hot tub. And there you are. You don't even need to read anything. You just start speaking eloquently about stuff they all need to hear. And you're being helped by unseen therapy because she knows what everybody needs to hear. You may not know yet, but she knows. And even though the words may not say, I love you, they are still words that emanate, I love you. And everyone in that classroom doesn't care about the prose or whatever, the poetry or whatever. They got it. They got it. They're all looking for love themselves. And where does it come from? The one little princess in the hot tub who is finally recognizing she is love. Always has been. Mother has her own issues. Mother needs to have her own hot tub someplace. Okay. Well, open your eyes. That's enough for now. Open your eyes.
That's great.
That was great, Gary.
I think I even heard that a little better. I think.
Good. So
I did.
cathartic.
Say it again.
So cathartic.
Oh, so cathartic. Okay. Well, cathartic's hard to say. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're recording this now so you can go back over this session and all the things we talked about. And you may want to see it twice, three, a whole bunch of times. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can take specific events that you will learn how to design. You're already starting on that with your list from the book. Okay.
Mm.
You can take these specific events and start, if you want to, plug them in even though we were talking about your age 13 thing, you can still, it takes a little skill, but you get the idea. You can plug that in there. And then after a while, of course, you'll get so used to doing these are like training wheels, and eventually, I mean, you'll be able to customize this stuff to your own. Now, a couple other things I want to mention to you. Several things. One, and we're recording, so you don't need to take notes. You can just hear it later. But I'm going to emphasize going back to the latest version of my book and going over the instructions for the personal peace procedure. There's a sentence in there. The moment when, remember that? The moment when, whatever happened, and I currently feel the emotion about it. Okay. Really understand that piece and the instructions for the specific event and bringing in the personal peace procedure, et cetera. Really understand it, practice it, even though you may or may not get results. You may or may not. Okay. The important thing is you practice it, because that idea, that skill, that tool is going to show up over and over and over and over again. It's sort of like if you have an automobile mechanic and he's going to fix your car, he has to have tools. And in that toolkit, he has to have a wrench. If he doesn't have a wrench, he's not going to do much with your car. Okay. This is like the wrench in our toolkit. Okay. Now you'll learn much more about that wrench as you study the course, because that in the book is an intro version, but you need to get to the intro version, do those specific events, the moment when, get that down, because that is so fundamental. All right. Now, from there, then you go to the article, read this first, how to take this course. And you told me you've read that. Those are the instructions for them. Remember, I'm the engineer. So you take them phrase by phrase. Like, this is how you do it. You go, it says to do this. Okay. I'm going to do this. Did I do it right? Yeah. Oh, I forgot that part. Oh, let's go back. So you're always referring back. Eventually you will have the instruction set, that one page memorized, because you'll be doing it, referring back. It's very important that too many people get hurry up itis, and they just want to rush all through this, and it costs them eventually. So do it that way. And again, I'll point out to you, and you'll see it over and over again, but I'm just going to emphasize it. You need to do this thoroughly, not quickly. Thoroughly, not quickly. All right. Now, we also have webinars, live support, where you can raise your hand and ask questions. Now, if your speech difficulty is still with you as time goes on, have Nick come with you. You can raise, if you have a question you want to ask, I tried this and that didn't work, or what do you mean when you said that, kind of stuff. You can have Nick ask the question, okay, if you want. All right. So those live webinars happen every other Sunday. We just had one yesterday. Were you there?
No.
Okay. Well, the recording is now up, and I'll give you a link to it in Thursday's newsletter. You're on our newsletter?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Now, the other thing, and this may be a real challenge for you with the speech, so you'd probably need Nick for this, okay, until your speech gets better. And that would be, we have practice groups where members get together and they work on each other's issues. Now, until you can get to the point where you can be heard better, but I would join them. I would try to join them. I would tell them, the handicap and so on. You can even start your own and say what the handicap is, but then Nick will be with you, and so on. But to work with other people, Sally, love is best when it's shared. And so, while it may be a challenge, there's probably a way to get it done.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, that may be it for today, huh?
Thank
Very
you.
nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else you want to go over before we close the curtain here?
One thing.
I have a joke picture I want to send.
She has a joke picture she wants to send.
That ties in.
That ties in perfectly. That ties in perfectly with Unseen Therapist.
Okay. Well, you can send it to me. Send it to Gary@emofree.com. Gary@emofree, EMOFREE.com. Just make an attachment or however you send it. Okay.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So
That was really interesting. Thanks.
you going in.
You know what? You know what, dear? You know what, dear? Where are you located in the world? What city?
San Francisco.
Oh, well, we're almost there. I'm at Sea Ranch. I'm about 2 hours north of you.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Well, anyway. Oh, I love animals. What's your cat's name?
Margarita.
Margarita. All right. Anyway, my dear, I'm going to give you a Sea Ranch hug. Okay. And the Unseen Therapist and I joined together in singing "I Love You."
You're great.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right. I will send you this recording within the hour.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you.